Hello, welcome to Caesar's Snack Sandwich. Today I'm taking a look at Pendle. Now, I looked at Pendle quite a long time ago, but I can't seem to find a video that I covered. So I might have looked at it and then put it on hold and then didn't actually cover it. Now, the reason why I'm looking at it today is because they do have a version 2 coming out. And it's pretty interesting. There's some thoughts in here, some interesting ideas, and so forth. So I do have a flowchart for you. Now, before I go through the flowchart and explain, this is what my sole source of information is this Google Docs slideshow. I've also read through the actual documentation on the website, it's pretty good. The documentation, they've put a lot of work into it. You can go here to the docs. There's a lot of work in there, but it does talk about the system is version 1, and there are some significant differences to version 2 as there is to version 1. Now, just a quick overview of what this product does is it allows you to basically take a yield-bearing token and split it into two tokens. So an ownership token or a principal token and a yield token. And then what you can do is then you can do things like sell that yield now and then use that yield now to people who think maybe that the yield will go up in the future. Okay, so I'm gonna go, as I go through the flowchart, I'll explain it a lot better than that, and then you'll basically understand better how things work as we go through the flowchart. Now, I do have a contact with somebody. He's basically sent me this and invited me to their Discord, and they do have some testnet thingies going for this version 2. But there's some interesting ideas here, like the ACID integration before was not permissionless, and then the impermanent loss is now negligible because it was quite hefty before. And then now they're also adding the VE locking of the governance utility token. Okay, so let's go over to the flowchart and I'll explain everything there. Okay, so here we are on the flowchart, and we have Dollar Bill and his brother Boosted Bill again. Now, I'm going to be explaining some things using, like I said, the version 1 docs, but I'll highlight ideas and the changes when those are appropriate to version 2. So the first thing we have is we have Dollar Bill. He has maybe some USDC, and he puts it in Aave and gets back Aave USDC, which is an interest-bearing token. So on version 1, they have the utility for Compound, Redacted, Cartels, Butterfly, and then also SushiSwap LPs. And then there are some stuff on AVAX as well, so you can dig into that a little bit different. So all of these products here have the ability to put a token in and get back a interest-bearing token. So this token quantity doesn't change, but it goes up in value inside this token. So the first thing with version 2 is that they're going to incorporate EIP 5115 super composable yield tokens. So these are a standard token that basically is a yield-bearing token. And what this will do is if a product or a project uses this standard for their interest-bearing token, then Pendle will be able to permissionlessly allow these tokens to take part in this system. So if your project is producing a yield-bearing token and you want Pendle to support it, then you just need to use this standard of token. Okay? So now that he has this interest-bearing token, he will stick it into Pendle, and Pendle will mint him two tokens. They call it original token, or they've changed it to principal token. I like principal better. So the principal token, so let's say he puts $100 in, or 100 AUSD, he will get 100 of these principal tokens back, right? So these will be redeemable one-to-one for the principal underlying token, right? And then he will also get these yield tokens. So I should probably explain that a little bit better. So if he uses 100 USDC and gets these A tokens, then he puts these AUSDC in here, then he will get 100 principal tokens that are redeemable for 100 USDC, okay? And then the yield from this Aave or whatever this is is basically claimable by this yield token. Okay, now these tokens have a lifespan of 5 epochs, so which is roughly about 35 days, right? So there's you hop in. So maybe he's got to set his calendar to interact with this, to open this position at the best time. Like he can do it anytime he wants, but it might be best to do it at the start, right? Now, as time progresses, Aave or whatever this, they're producing yield and assigning it to these tokens, right? So that yield is then extracted from that token and is claimable, like every as time progresses, by this yield token. So anytime dollar bill here has this yield token and he sees USDC accumulating in this contract, he can just pull it out. Now, what he can do with these yield tokens, because like why would you, there's no point in just holding these two tokens. You might as well just hold like the AUSD token, the Aave token, because there's no reason to do it, right? So what he can do with these yield tokens, one of the things he can do is he can supply liquidity to a liquidity pool, right? And allow people to buy or sell these yield tokens versus USDC, right? And this is version 1, okay? And for doing so, he's rewarded with Pendle tokens, the governance tokens, okay? Now, what can he do with these Pendle tokens? He can stick them in SushiSwap versus ETH and get liquidity mining rewards, and then stick that LP to get more Pendle tokens, right? He can stake them for, just more Pendle tokens, lock them up for more Pendle tokens. And then version 2 has a VE system where he can lock them for up to 2 years, and he will boost his rewards of his LPs and so forth like that. Now, another key factor of these Pendle tokens is they are vesting. So at first you get, let's say you're eligible for 20 Pendle tokens a week. At first you won't get quite as much. Okay, you'll get less and less, and then after 5 weeks it'll level out, and you will get the 20 tokens every week for so forth. Now, the reason for doing this is so that people who come in aren't immediately able to start selling the full amount of Pendle tokens. Okay, so moving on. So now we have another option he can do is he can take that yield, right? Those yield tokens, sell them for USDC in this pool, and then take the USDC to SushiSwap or wherever and buy some other token. So what this allows him to do is he can use the future yield of his USDC through Aave to buy something now. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. This is a clever system. This is one of the main benefits of using this token. However, this token is not constantly worth the same thing in this pool. It's constantly going down in value because he's able to extract, right? He's the owner of this yield that's building up in here. So when he does, this yield-bearing token is constantly always going down in value versus USDC inside this pool. And this is kind of where the impermanent loss comes from, okay? Now, version 2 has come out, and they've drastically changed this LP system here. So instead of putting the yield-bearer token in here with USDC, he puts the principal token in with the underlying yield source token, okay? So now the pool's significantly different. It's the AUSDC and the principal token inside here, okay? Now, one of the features of this version 2 is they're using very concentrated curves. So instead of having like just a straight line of curve or some other things, it's the pricing of these two tokens is very, very tightly bound, okay? So as long as the pool has, like, it's like the A ratio on curve kind of. As long as the pool is relatively healthy and we're not at the tail ends, then these tokens, the value of these tokens doesn't change quite so much, okay? Now, trading with these tokens is interesting. So we have Boosted Bill here. Let's say he takes a look at this yield token and he's like, oh, this yield token is cheap, right? Right now, I think the APY on Aave is going to go up, like maybe, or these sources, like it's really cheap right now. Like this yield for some reason is really low right now. Maybe there's a lot of liquidity in there or something, and he thinks it's going to go up. So what he can do is he can take some of the source token, right? So in this case, the Aave source token, and he can send it into the swapping contract. That swapping contract will take his source token and some more source token from, borrow it from basically dollar bill here, send it to Pendle, redeem it for, mint some yield tokens and some principal tokens, send him the yield tokens, and then use the principal tokens to rebalance this pool in a sense of buying more of the buying back this source token that was taken to mint these. Okay, so now he has his tokens and he's gotten them cheaper, and he's hoping that the yield of this Aave will go up, because then he can redeem it later, just like dollar bill can redeem the yield tokens for this line here. Okay, so that's if he's bullish on the APY on these sources. Now let's say the opposite. Let's say he's bearish on the APY of these sources, or he thinks, oh, these yield tokens are too expensive right now. So he can get his hands on some of these yield tokens. He can do it the same way the dollar bill did, like kind of mint them through the source token, or perhaps he has bought on them in the past and now he thinks the APY is a good time to sell them. So he wants to sell his yield bearing tokens, or his yield tokens, right? Back to the system. So what he does is he sends them to the swap contract, right? And the swap contract pulls out the principal token and then has both yield and principal and redeems them for the source token, right? And then the source token, he gets some of the source token, and then the rest is sent back to the pool to repay this principal token that was taken out. Okay, so this is the system. It's pretty complicated, so you maybe need to watch it again, or you can hop in and try to read, or, well, I guess there's nothing to read quite yet. It will go public in a little while, they tell me. So you maybe join the Discord, ask more questions and so forth, or wait for that docs to come out. Okay, so I hope this has been interesting and useful, and thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.